Welcome, Hanifa.
Hi.
Thank you for joining me, and I'm really excited to talk about your new book. And I know it's a self-help journal, it's about manifestation, it's about transformation, but tell me a bit of details about, a little bit about you, and a little bit about why you decided to do this journal in the first place.
Okay, so yeah, I'm a part of the Nation of Islam, but I'm also a part of a group called Nubian Family Network, and also New Mind, New Women. And we do workshops, seminars, and meetings for women and girls generally, but there's always boys that come in. And the idea behind that is we don't get everything from school, and looking at the community of things that there's always problems and issues that we have, and they're not being solved in school. So we're trying to kind of close that gap and help to make us a better people. You know, our community is a safer place to live. And that's where it stems from. And it started first with women and girls, because the women are the ones that have the children. And so just trying to, you know, develop a better mindset. So, and we do that. I do that with a sister called Sister Diana. We do workshop during the school holidays. She does jewelry making. Yeah, so various school holidays, meetings on a Saturday.
Okay, so it sounds like you've got your hands in many different pots, but all of them seem to be about enhancing the community, about learning development, and your focus is on young people and mainly women as well, because they're the first teachers, I suppose.
Yes.
So you're teaching the young,
Yes,
so they've got the knowledge to move forward. So
Absolutely.
where did the journal come about? Why are you journaling doing that?
Right. You know what? I didn't even intend to do a journal. In doing the workshops with the girls, we started doing, you know, you do affirmations, and it's like people do affirmations. And then I started to think, what does it really mean after doing that for a couple of years? And then I looked into, because it starts with I am, and what does that actually mean? And it's like present time. And then when I thought about it, those are statements in the Bible.
Yes.
So then I kind of referred to that, started looking into that. So because I now know it's got a deeper meaning. So, and then after that followed in the Bible is the Beatitudes, which I didn't even realize. But then in the Quran, it says be, and it is. And that means that once we think about something, we should be able to bring it into being.
Okay.
And so then it became goal setting in the workshops, setting and achieving goals. And then, so all of these different things that I did in workshops, it's like a journey, really. I did a Facebook page, it was about business, and I used some of these things on that page just to help us to think, to set goals, do visioning, and then manifest them. And then I came across a free training on Facebook that it was about making money digitally. And it was actually how you could create a journal. And in fact, no, I woke up with an idea actually to put all of this into a journal. And I called my sister and said, do you want to be a part of this? Because she does crafting. So we did a workshop at the Lighthouse with some young people, but we couldn't complete the journal in a day. And then I realized it's too expensive to craft the journal. So when I came across this training on Facebook, I thought, there it is. Let's create the journal on there. So everything throughout the years, different things that I picked up from different places, I was able to put in one place. And so the journal actually takes you from who am I? Because I found that in doing the workshops, quite often our problem with self-esteem is that we didn't know our true identity. And that a lot of the problems that we now have as a people stems from not knowing who we are and not being properly connected. So it was to solve that problem. So who am I? And then towards the end of the book, you get to manifesting who you actually are. So we're being able now to project our best selves.
So it's like you've taken somebody through that journey to understand self, to know thyself, and to go through to now to actually the application and to start to manifest. And it sounds like you manifested the book as well. You thought about the book. You started working towards the different parts of the book. You brought people on board, and then you manifested this training course that gave you the extra push so you could make it into reality. And so you're proof of the pudding, I suppose.
Absolutely, because this is, I suppose, when you look at this, my journey through, and then putting different things that I found useful and what I used with in the different workshops. Putting them all in one space. So it is what I've tried and tested. And in fact, the Facebook page that I set up, I haven't even gone back to it. And I will do, because I reached a point where I thought I've got to start manifesting what I'm talking about. Yes. And since then, I've been manifesting and just been like, it's been so busy. So I need to go back on there and bear witness to that.
What I like about your journal is that you actually are encouraging the users to write in it, to actually, there's an application to actually write inside the book. You've got the different stages. So it becomes a workbook more than anything else, isn't it? So what made you use that style and not just to tell people your journey?
Part of the book is brain dumping. And I found personally that sometimes I get overwhelmed, and it can feel like stress with many different things that I have to do and I want to continue. And sometimes I used to feel tearful, but I didn't understand it because nothing was wrong. And then I realized it was stress. And so I came across brain dumping. And so I've included pages in there where you can just write out what's in your head, because I find that actually relieves, and then you can look at the page and then you can prioritize, well, what needs doing now? What can wait till tomorrow? What can I leave maybe next week, but I can still keep it written and then I can refer to it. So so that page is there. There's also a page on visioning. And a few years ago, I did a course on that. And that was so beneficial, because you start by, say, just being quiet and thinking about what you want. You can choose probably one topic that you want to achieve. Gather information around it, gather pictures around it. There's no one way to do it, but it's just, if you have an idea, vision the idea, and then actually feel like and know that I've achieved this, have pictures about it, and then you can start to go to work on it. So how the journal's written is that you look into who you are, where did you come from? Where did your parents come from? Where did your parents, grandparents come from? There's a section to fill in on that. And when we go far enough to where we came from, we were created, none of us made ourselves. And then that just makes you think, okay, there's more to this. Then there's a section on values. What are your values? So we do a lot of listening to what people say, but sometimes we don't take time to, what do I feel? What's important to me? What's my top values? And with that one, I did a course with somebody where we did values, but they were all written on a sheet of paper. And I felt that I got confused trying to read the paper and write down my values. So I created a little cards of values where you could stack them up. You could put your first, second, and third in a line going down, and then you could think about it and move them. if you put, say, love was your first value, but then you felt money was more important, you could move that to the top. But you could carry on doing that until you were settled. So that's in the book that you can cut out and play with that. But for me, it's always, you can write about things, but I like to do things practical. It's just easier for me. And I thought, because we learn in different ways, that may help somebody else as well. There's also a chart to fill in life cycle. And you can do it on, it's a scale of 1 to 10. If you were to look at your spiritual life, how do you feel that's going? And if you say it's 5, you may look at, well, what do I need to do to bring it up to 6? And that's where then you can set your goals. And so there's a sheet there for setting goals. It's also about SMART goals. So you got to be specific. So if we didn't know that before, you can also learn that from the book. And so once you set your goal now, you have your vision, then you set your goal, and then you get to work. You know, because I've heard people say knowledge is power. And then I've heard somebody else say, yeah, it's power if you act upon it. So this book now is practical, where you can write, you can mark in it, you can act in it, you can take pictures of your visions, what you want to bring into fruition, stick it in the book. You know, you can do all sorts with it. And, you know, people may even take it where I don't know. So, yeah.
So it feels like the book can be, you're making the book personal to you. So you're applying those ideas, and everybody, by the time they get to the end of the journal, everybody's will be different. So it's allowing that opportunity. And I think it's very important. You're talking about, you know, sometimes we're very stressed, and because of the stress, we focus in that crisis mode and don't have time to sit down and think. And I suppose with your journal, allowing people to sit down and think and giving them the kind of cues in order to explore what's important for them and find ways of reducing this stress and also manifesting what they really want and deciding what they really want. I think it's very interesting you talk about our heritage, and that can be a very interesting thing. I mean, I personally started to look into my family tree and use different apps like My Heritage and Family Search, trying to find out more and find out those stories. And a lot of Facebook, you can just go by your surname, and I'm from the Caribbean, my family's from the Caribbean, so I could find groups so to explore that way. And I've met different family members who you know, I didn't know, and now I've made those connections, and it's kind of quite beautiful to start that journey as well. And it was very, it's like in Black families especially, we know auntie and we know cousin and we know uncle, but we don't know how we're connected to that person. You know, that seems to be lost. We don't seem to pass that down. And so it's interesting that you started from that way to ask people to explore their heritage and explore that. I suppose it can be beautiful, but also it could be a bit scary knowing the legacy of Black people.
Yeah. I mean, you know, as you're talking, I'm thinking about the difficult issues that we come across in our families when you talk about heritage. We've got, you know, diabetes is a problem with us. High blood sugar, hypertension, you know, the gangs and violence, the sexualization of the females and that. Where did this all come from, and how can we solve it? And I feel that there is a disconnection of us from the Creator. I feel there's a big disconnection. Things have changed over time, but we have to look at what is at the root of these problems. You know, what have we been disconnected from? So and that's where I thought identity, who are you? Do you know who you are? We've just, you know, even if you look at Black history, people that came before us that fought for certain things, that fought and died and suffered certain things, what was that about? And where when you've got, they give us a month, but like you've got the month, and then it's like then we may be given who we should study in the month. And there's so many Black people that have done things that we're not being pointed towards. So for me, it's like the truth of all of this thing. So identity is very, very important. If we understand that the creator is part of our identity. So there's a Bible verse that I've known since I was very young. Nobody spoke about it. And I just thought, oh, well, it's just there. But it says we're made in the image and likeness of God. So that's part of our identity. So if that's part of our identity, and that's our potential, why are we then on drugs in year 7? Why is there the violence that there is? Why are women like, and young girls like sexualized and all that goes on? Why is that happening? And it's addressing all of these things for me, so that once you get your identity, then you can be your true, authentic self. But if we don't know, and we don't expect the schools to do it, then we can't be that. So this book, it can be quite deep as well. It depends. And then each section can be, a workshop or part of a workshop. And in fact, the last one that we did this summer, some parents actually stayed and they found it very beneficial. And then also it was like children would come in and they wouldn't know. This one girl came in, she wanted to be an architect. That's all she knew. By the end of the workshop, she knew which university she needed to attend to. She knew like what subjects then she needed to focus on in school, because they just hadn't sat down and thought about the next step. And that's all it is, having the conversation, but kind of, it's kind of finding, how can I put it? Finding the space. There's a word, I can't think of it at the moment. Clarification. That's it. On once you can clarify, like a young girl came in, what do you want? She didn't know. Then she decided, I want to do hair. So by the time she left and her aunt sent me a message, I've researched this and I researched that. She couldn't do it then, but she found things that she could do now to take her on her way, So it's just like, identify who you are, then you can, there's also about focus in there. If you don't know where you're going, you can't have a focus. Imagine if you're going to catch a train, if you don't know where you're going, you're not going to know which train do I get on. Where you're going to be standing in the station, like you wouldn't move. So once you know who you are, where you're going, you get on the train, and that's how you then can manifest, because you've got some idea what you're doing. And I usually explain that in like food, we do it every day. We've probably thought about what we're going to eat today, last week, yesterday, and how did we do it? We thought about it, then we did what was necessary. Either you're going to get a takeout, so you need some money, or you've already shopped, or some of us may have planted food that we're going to go and dig up, but we think about it. So also in there is what we think about, we bring about. So our thought process is very, very, very important. And so when we know who we are and we understand that where we've come from is very powerful, then we can think powerfully. And
so it sounds like you're bringing that spiritual element all the way through the book, that
Mm.
self-identity through the book, and that application, understanding what's the final destination and what steps
Yeah.
you need to take in order to achieve that goal. So you've got
Yes.
that very practical, hands-on kind of methods that you're using. It sounds amazing, I can see it's a little bit scary sometimes to explore those issues,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
but it looks like you're given a guide to help people in order to explore those
Yeah.
scary, can be scary
Absolutely.
issues, isn't it? And I think you're
Mhm.
very right. In our culture, we have certain behaviors which we think are cultural behaviors, but in fact, they might have started from ways of coping. So
Yes.
it's adapted coping strategies
Yeah.
that now become cultural identity, and it might not be our
Mm.
true, authentic spiritual self.
Absolutely.
So
Yes.
it's unpicking what has other people told us who we
Yeah.
are, and actually who we really are, and to sit with that
Absolutely.
for a while. Do you know what I mean? And it
Yes.
sounds like your programs are not only positive for the children involved, but also has
Mm.
an effect on the wider family as well. So it's definitely a
Absolutely.
community program.
Absolutely. And this is it. We've heard about it takes a village,
Yes.
and what, and you see, what does that's another story. But anyway, it's like, what does that mean? And it's
Mm,
nowadays when people come to me with different issues, I may use a part of the book to deal with that.
mm,
So it's kind of like things that I've used over time. But yeah, it's kind of referring to bits of it if they don't have the whole book, So yeah, absolutely. Community, because it starts with self.
yes.
Once we understand ourselves and improve ourselves, then it dwindles down to say the rest of the family, your friends, and then community. So yes.
Yeah. So positive. I think it's
Mm.
having the time and space to do that is really important, and making the time and space to do that. And it sounds like your
Yeah.
book is a practical guide to help you to make that space to explore and to
Mm.
think, and to
Mm.
have more
Yeah.
positive coping mechanisms and practical.
Yeah.
And it sounds like each area are areas which you've tried and tested. It's from your
Yes.
course, you've brought it through because you've seen that it's worked.
Yeah.
Mm,
I'm still working on it. It's not like I'm not perfectly there, but what it is
mm,
that once you've done it, then there's somewhere for my mind to go to. So if
mm,
I am sitting down and feeling overwhelmed, I can say to myself, have you journaled for a bit? Go and do that. You will feel better.
mm,
You just do. And what I say to people with the brain dumping bit,
mm,
you may not want to write it in the book and keep it if you don't want people to see it. Write it, rip it up, burn it, throw it away. But
mm,
what it is, it's the idea of it, the principle of it.
mm.
Do that. So even if you don't want to write in the book, it's just like applying those things. It's kind of like learning a pattern of how to live. You know,
Yes.
yeah,
So it's the coping mechanisms, and it can be transferable for all different areas, you're saying. So once you've used the journal, it's not about
yeah,
going through it and put it down. You're learning techniques that you can use in other areas of
that's
your
right.
life. And other
Yeah,
times when you're stressed or problem solving, you can use those
yeah,
those techniques in order to problem solve in other areas. So it's transferable
yeah.
skills. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely. And I find it useful as well as a parent that
Mm,
different areas, like if you're looking at your child, maybe they're not achieving what you want, and you want to track back, well, what is it, or what makes you think, where are you? You
mhm,
can use it as a measure. Like, um, I'm working with some young men at the moment,
mhm,
and it's so we meet up every now and then. So for them, it's like, what's your goals? What's your goals for, say, the week? What's your goals for in a year time? They stop and then they think. And in fact, the section about, well, who am I? I first done that at the beginning of lockdown. And I had a group of boys on one time and a group of girls. And that's where I first did that. And I thought, oh, I like that. And that was an idea. So then I used it on Facebook. And then it became a part of the book. So, yeah, I just find it's just a tool that can be used in many ways. Yeah, in many different situations. Yeah.
Even to explore the aspect of who am I is actually quite a big subject in its own right. And I think in our journey, wear lots of different hats. So, we can be
Absolutely.
the friend, the lover, the mother, the sister, the daughter. We're all the same person, but we can
Yes.
portray a different image to what we show the world. And I think, as individuals as well, whether what environment you're in, you've got a different mask on for that environment as well. So you can play a different role inside the home than what you have at work, for example. You could be, totally different in your relaxed state. So that's quite a big and quite a challenging kind of topic, just to look at who you are. And I think we evolve as well. So who I was 10 years ago might be different, totally different due to my life experiences. And I think you might have a traumatic experience that might turn your world totally upside down, and you might become a totally new person based on that experience. So it's quite a big topic area, to explore.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes, it is.
So
Your camera stopped, I'm not sure. Yeah.
Where can we find your journal? Where is somebody? Where
Okay,
are you
so
located?
it is on Amazon. I'm not sure. Can you see it?
Oh, yes, I can see. This is me.
Yeah, exactly. And so yeah, if you search for "This Is Me" by Hanifa Al-Hamid on Amazon. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. And so, I mean, that's excellent. But you talked about the workshops as well. And are those workshops still going on? And how, if somebody wants to access those kind of workshops, is there a contact newsletter or anything they can do?
Well, you can find those on Facebook, Nubian Family Network on Facebook, and you can contact us through that page.
Okay, excellent. Because I like the idea of having the journal, but I just feel that it can open up a lot. So to have those groups as well, then it's nice to kind of have a balance. So you're not just opening up a can of worms and leaving it there. Because it sounds like it could be quite a scary experience, a rewarding experience, or a very scary experience. Yeah.
As part of the workshops, we do circles as well that we can deal with this. So yeah.
What do you mean by circles?
Circles, like talking circles, where
so
we
like
will have, we do coffee mornings. So we may choose a topic and then we'll discuss that in a safe space, where people are often willing to share. So we do that also.
So it's like a group counseling, group support.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you so much. It's been enjoyable to hear about the journal, and I'm glad that things are moving forward and that you're manifesting. You're seeing it in real life.
Yes.
So I'm really pleased about that, and I can see that you use this as a practical application and something that I think self-love and self-awareness is really important, especially in the Black community, because people are always telling us who we are, and sometimes we need to sit down and actually find out for ourselves our uniqueness. And I love the idea of that. So thank you very much for sharing.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You take care.